In this video, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why Dwayne Wade is held in a little bit too high of a regard. Hey everyone, Jacob Chalmers here with Amateur Hour Sports, where we post raw and unfiltered sporting content Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. If it is your first time with us here today, make sure you subscribe right now so you stay up to date with future episodes. Dwayne Wade is regarded as one of the greatest players of all time and as one of maybe the top 2, top 3 shooting guards of all time. For some, they do put him in the top 2. And I think that a lot of casual fans just simply accept the notion and the conception that Dwayne Wade is on that level without really diving too far into statistics, into the information, into, eye test, watching the games to really understand everything about Dwayne Wade's game. And he's undoubtedly a Hall of Famer for me as well. He is a Hall of Famer and he's a great player, but I think he's held in a little bit too high of an esteem and a regard. And I'm going to give you my 5 reasons why I think that is the case. Here we go. And again, I'm not saying Dwayne Wade is a bad player. He is a great, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer undoubtedly. I just think he's a little bit overrated than he actually is. Reason number 1, Dwayne Wade was tremendous in the 2006 NBA Finals, and he 100% deserved that Finals MVP. However, it's a bit misconceived that he carried that Miami Heat team to the championship. Yes, he was the best player on the championship team, but he did not carry that Miami Heat team. That was an elite Miami Heat team with great players, a deep bench, a lot of options, and a lot of players who could produce. They had 4 Hall of Famers, Dwayne Wade, Shaq, who was still putting up 20 and 9, Alonzo Mourning, and Gary Payton. And I know Alonzo Mourning and Gary Payton were washed. They weren't the players that they had been, but you can't deny that the presence, the veteran presence, the experience they bring, the defensive abilities they bring, and also their leadership in deep playoff runs. You can't deny what they brought to the team. And Alonzo Mourning was still averaging 3 blocks and shooting 60% from the field. He was still getting some numbers. They were contributors. They weren't the Hall of Fame players they were, but they were large contributors. Not to mention, they still had players like Udonis Haslem, who was a very talented option, and also a very talented point guard in Jason Williams, white chocolate. That's a great point guard to have when you have a lot of weapons around. A point guard who is a pass-first kind of player who's going to share the ball, especially when you have a guy like Dwayne Wade who needs to take a lot of shots. And he did take a lot of shots. He averaged a tremendous 33 points per game, but some people conceive it to be the best finals a player has ever had. And I don't really agree with that, but I agree that it was a tremendous NBA Finals. But here's why it is, still brought to a bit of a higher esteem. That 2006 NBA Finals is notoriously known for being one of the worst officiated series and finals that we have ever seen in NBA history. The Miami Heat averaged almost 10 more free throw attempts per game than the Dallas Mavericks. Dwayne Wade himself in Game 5 had 25 free throws. The Dallas Mavericks team as a whole, their entire team in Game 5 had 25 free throws. Dwayne Wade in a Game 5 that was separated by 1 point at the end of the game, which turned the series in Miami's favor to make it 3-2. Dwayne Wade had as many free throws as the entire Dallas Mavericks team. In that series, Dwayne Wade had 10 free throws in Game 1, 14 free throws in Game 2, 18 in Game 3, 9 in Game 4, 25 in Game 5, and 21 in Game 6. Miami were getting the calls from the officials, especially Dwayne Wade. 25 free throws in a single game. Miami were getting the calls that Dallas weren't. And as a result, Dwayne Wade's points per game were slightly inflated because of how many times he got the ability to take 2 shots from the free throw line because of the officiating on display. Dwayne Wade also only hit 3 3-pointers for the entire series. As a shooting guard, I think you need to have a little bit more than just your driving to the lane athletic approach. You can't just get all your points from driving in. You need to have multiple dimensions to your game where Dwayne Wade did not show it in that series. But again, I digress. That was a tremendous series. Dwayne Wade was was truly the deserving of the Finals MVP. Though we had a good cast, Dwayne Wade was that player who brought them over the line. But I think that because of how good he was in that Finals series, it put him on a bit of a pedestal for the rest of his career, where we kind of ignored his deficiencies as a result of how good he was in that series. Reason number 2, he has a large deficiency in shooting. Like I was saying in that series, his career average from 3, 29%. For a shooting guard, like I said, you need to be a little bit more two-dimensional, maybe even three-dimensional of a scorer, whereas Dwayne Wade only got his points by taking a lot of shots. He needed the ball a lot. He had to get to the rim and get, the easy buckets, maybe work on some short mid-range shots, but he was not a shooter. So because of that, if he didn't have the ball a ton, he could not get his points up, and that's why he became scoring champ, because he got the ball so much in Miami, and they put a lot of defensive pieces around him to build up that elite roster for that championship. But when Dwayne Wade had to play with LeBron later on in his career, and he couldn't hog the ball, have the ball constantly, he averaged 25 points per game in LeBron's first season, then he went to 22.1, and then he never averaged 22 points a game for the rest of his career. That first season in Miami didn't truly work out. They didn't really get over the hump in the end, and I think that's largely because Dwayne Wade had the ball a little bit too much. They realized that LeBron was the more efficient scorer, the better scorer, so they kind of took away that role, and I think Dwayne Wade himself kind of sat back a little bit and let LeBron take more of the ball, take more of the reins for the Miami Heat, and that's what eventually got them to those back-to-back NBA championships, which I'll talk more on a bit later. But Dwayne Wade, his three-point shooting is a big problem, especially for a shooting guard. 29% on his career. I don't think he ever got above 33% in a single season. Hardly ever took threes. Went some months of stretches without hitting threes. That is a big part of a shooting guard's game, especially if you're regarded in the elite cast on the all-time list. Reason number 3, Dwayne Wade is regarded as an elite defender, and I will digress. He is one of the best shot-blocking guards we have ever seen in NBA history. But also, his steals number, he averaged 1.5 steals per game throughout his entire career. His defensive numbers come a lot from high-risk, high-reward situations. So instead of defending the man and playing conservative, containing a man, making him take a tough shot, getting the rebound, working team the other way, he would defend the passing lane rather than the man. So high risk, high reward, like I said. Try to cut up the lane, get that steal, boost your numbers. But you wouldn't really see his defensive ratings, which would be worse off because he's always cheating on the passing lanes. We only really look at blocks, steals. We don't really look at the defensive rating as much, especially in the case of Dwayne Wade. And yes, his blocks, those 0.8 blocks per game from a guard over his career are very impressive. However, again, it's a lot of high risk, high reward. Most of those blocks come off of second man. He comes in late and gets the block. It's not because he's D'ing up his man. He's an elite defender because he plays the numbers game. He's not the benefactor on defense for his team. He just played the numbers. The contributions he had were very noticeable, and his defensive deficiencies were not noticeable. And that's why he's held into that regard on defense. Reason number 4, Dwayne Wade as a guard is kind of perceived to be a guy who could elevate his team to the next level. Share the ball, help his team out, and help bring the best out of his teammates. But that isn't really the case. He only averaged above 7 assists once in his career and above 6 assists 6 times. And he averaged 5.4 assists per game for his entire career. And for a guard, those can be perceived a bit low, but maybe he wasn't the best playmaker, and that's okay. There's a lot of shooting guards who are that shoot first mentality, and they don't need to get all those assists. That is true, but he's perceived to be able to elevate his team to the next level, and people say that he did that in the 06 series, but when they really needed him to elevate the rest of the team in 07-08, when the Heat finished 18-64, Dwayne Wade, yes, did not have a full season, but he played over 50 games, and they only won 11 of those 51 games. So, sure, Dwayne Wade was the best player on the team, and, maybe he couldn't have done everything, but I think if you're held into this elite class like Dwayne Wade is, then you really should be elevating that team to better than an abysmal record to be one of the worst teams in the NBA, because they had a better win percentage when Dwayne Wade didn't play. So sure, it may not be completely his fault, but why were they better, just slightly, but why were they better without Dwayne Wade on the court? Dwayne Wade should be elevating that team to a new height, to a new level, and he could not achieve that with the 07-08 Miami Heat team. It is noticeable that when Dwayne Wade didn't have the cast around him, he made absolutely no movements in the playoffs. In the 05-06 season, that was an elite Miami Heat roster. There weren't many other stars, but that was an elite roster, which is good enough to win a championship if that cast is so supportive of the best player, Dwayne Wade. And when he had LeBron, they made 4 straight finals. Was that because he had arguably the greatest player of all time on his team? When it was Dwayne Wade's team, there wasn't really a lot that he could do in the playoffs unless he had a deep roster to work with. Reason number 5. Dwayne Wade is kind of labeled as a clutch player, but when it comes to clutch games, Dwayne Wade is not so formidable. In the 2005-2006 NBA Finals, Dwayne Wade was very good, like I said. He was a plus 22 in that series. In the 2011 NBA Finals, his first one with LeBron, they lost to the Dallas Mavericks, and Dwayne Wade is kind of perceived to have been the best player on Miami in that series, but, maybe they weren't great. He was a -6 in that series, and maybe that's not all on him. The next year, 2012, they won that NBA Finals, and he was a plus 41. Very impressive. Miami worked through that series very well. Dwayne Wade had a good series, plus 41 in that series. Then we get to the 2013 NBA Finals, where it was a real dogfight to win that, where your best players needed to elevate you guys and to push you over the line. And people claim that Dwayne Wade is one of those guys in Miami who aided in pushing them over that line in such a difficult contested series with San Antonio. That's a series where Ray Allen hits the most clutch shot in NBA history in Game 6. Dwayne Wade in that series, a series Miami won, he was minus 54 in the entire series. In that Game 6, that all-important Game 6 that saved Miami's skin, got them to the Game 7, which they eventually won the NBA championship. Dwayne Wade was a minus 15. He shot 6 for 15 from the field. And if it wasn't for guys like Mario Chalmers shooting 7 for 11 from the field and having one of their career games, Dwayne Wade would have really been on the other end of a lot of negativity from Miami fans for how poor he was in that game, because all in all in the series, he was minus 54. And in the next year, 2014, when they lost to San Antonio, he was a minus 54 again. So even though he has a winning record in NBA Finals, he's a career minus 51 player in those NBA Finals. Not the type of numbers you want to see from a player who's perceived to elevate in clutch games and elevate his teams for those types of games like he is made out to be. Also, once LeBron showed up and Dwayne Wade couldn't really have all the touches that he wanted, especially in clutch situations, Dwayne Wade was never in the top 20 in the NBA for clutch points. And I know you might think immediately, right now you're thinking that LeBron takes all the clutch shots, but that is not the case at all. In his first 2 years playing with LeBron, Dwayne Wade had 1.8 field goal attempts in the clutch. LeBron had 1.9. In the next year, Dwayne Wade had 2.3 field goal attempts in the clutch per game. LeBron had only 2.5, which is just more in both of those. Then once Miami realized after that LeBron was the man and it wasn't Dwayne Wade, that's when LeBron started getting more clutch opportunities, even though the next year Dwayne Wade still had 1.9 field goal attempts in the clutch. Dwayne Wade just wasn't producing as well as LeBron, so they gave the ball to LeBron in the clutch situations, because why wouldn't you? LeBron was a better player in the clutch. Dwayne Wade was not the clutch guy that you needed. So Dwayne Wade, yes, he was still good in the clutch, but he's not up to that level that he's made out to be. That's what the whole video is about. It's not about Dwayne Wade not being good. It's about how he's not as good as you make him out to be. And I know there's a lot of Miami lovers, a lot of Dwayne Wade lovers. He's a very likable player, and that's probably why he's held into that esteem. But I think that the NBA Finals in 2006 put him on this untouchable platform where we don't realize the deficiencies that he has in his game. On the all-time list of shooting guards, give me Jordan, Kobe, Iverson, and James Harden before you give me Dwayne Wade at the 5 spot, because Allen Iverson, by the way, has been listed as a shooting guard much more than he has as a point guard in his career before you try to tell me Allen Iverson is a point guard, not a shooting guard. He's a combo guard who was listed as a shooting guard for the majority of his career, if you want to go check that out. The James Harden argument, and this is arguable, I will say this. This is not what the video is about. It's not about Harden versus Wade. It's about Dwayne Wade being held in too high of an esteem. But for the Harden argument, James Harden is regarded as a bit of a ball hog, but still has more career assists than Dwayne Wade, will finish with more assist titles than Dwayne Wade, while also getting more scoring titles than Dwayne Wade did. Also, James Harden has 6 All-NBAs and is going to get another one this year to make it 7. Dwayne Wade only had 8 in his career. So Harden is going to finish his career with more All-NBAs, more assist titles, more scoring titles, more MVPs, and also, he's not far off in the defensive numbers to Dwayne Wade if you want to go look that up. The one thing you will argue, and it is a good argument, Dwayne Wade has the Finals MVP and he's got 3 rings. James Harden, I don't think he's ever going to win a ring. And yes, you are right, but I think if you give James Harden, Shaq in that state, Alonzo Mourning in that state, Gary Payton in that state, Udonis Haslem, Jason Williams, James Harden has an NBA championship. And yes, Harden was in that Game 7 against the Warriors where the Rockets missed 27 straight three-pointers when they didn't have Chris Paul, who got injured. And it looked like the Rockets were going to win that series with Chris Paul. And yes, James Harden should have elevated his game to the next level to bring the Rockets to the NBA Finals. But Dwayne Wade has had bad games in clutch, but he's always had the cast to bail him out, like he had Mario Chalmers in Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals, along with LeBron James, who was great in that game as well. James Harden never had a cast to bail him out like Dwayne Wade has had, which again, hide his deficiencies in the big moments. That is why I would take James Harden over Dwayne Wade, but there is an argument for that, I will say. To end off this video, Dwayne Wade is a Hall of Famer. Yes, Dwayne Wade is a tremendous player, but he's not up to the esteem that everybody holds him to. Just take it down a tier. That's where Dwayne Wade sits. He is a great player, again, a Hall of Famer, but the argument is not about Wade versus Harden. That one, I would debate that, and I could see both sides of that. But for Dwayne Wade's case, take him down a notch because that's where he belongs. He is not among the guys like Kobe and Jordan, like some people make him out to be. Before you go on commenting all your hate, because I know this video is going to get a ton of hate, before you go comment, I want you to really think about the types of arguments you want to bring back to me. Don't just, I know everybody's just going to, probably already, people aren't even going to make it this part of the video. People are already going to be talking about how fucking stupid I am, how it's Dwayne Wade is the best player in Miami's history. Dwayne Wade is up on that tier with Kobe, Jordan. I want you to really give me numbers. I want you to actually refute and rebuttal the points I made. I don't want to just hear that Dwayne Wade is this and that and how I'm wrong. I want to get into an argument, a discussion, a civil discussion about why you disagree with my points. And I hope you can really understand the point I'm trying to make, because this is not an argument where I can't see how people rate Dwayne Wade like that. Certainly I can see it based off his likability and from that 06 final, but I want you to see my side of what I'm saying as well and really understand the points I'm trying to make. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like it and also subscribe right now to Amateur Hour Sports so you stay up to date with all the future content coming your way. Also, hit that notification bell to make sure you never miss a future episode. And as always, we'll see you again next time.